Ciao ragazzi, this is Katie Portanova, and you're listening to Florence and Me. I'm a lover of stories and all things Italian, and I'm going to bring you all that in this podcast. My intention is to inspire you to step out of your comfort zone and explore life and travel the world. Join me as I tell you my story and many others about Italy and my love, Florence. Andiamo! Ciao a tutti, it's Katie. It has been a long while since I have graced you with my voice and my stories. I have been away on a family trip, and before that, I was working on marketing for upcoming trips in 2025. I was working on our birthday special, which is going on now. And even before that, I was in Italy. I was had a very successful retreat with Yin Yang Yoga and Pilates. We did an amazing group of people. In May, end of May, it was amazing. I was brought to tears by one of the guests, had the most amazing testimonial that I will share with you. I might have already shared it on social media. If you're not on that, I'm going to try to get it on my website somehow. But it's been a whirlwind these past few months. I have not dedicated my time to my beautiful podcast. I love it so much. So I'm glad I am back with you today. Today, my goal is to be more structured. And those of you that know me, that's usually not what I'm like. So I had this amazing podcast recording yesterday with Lexi from Relatable Success Stories, and I cannot wait to hear it. She is such a great interviewer. We had a great time chatting. And it made me realize that I really have touched a lot of you guys with my stories, and I really want to dedicate more time to this podcast when I have time. Because in a month, I will be back in Italy, and also not just doing a retreat, but also celebrating our 10-year anniversary with Stefano. We're going back to Puglia, where we're going to do some recon for an upcoming trip there. But also for a relax, of course. So anyway, I digress. My goal of this podcast episode today is one, to make it short, which I've been doing pretty well, I have to say, and two, to give you some insights on how to embrace slow travel in Florence or in Italy in general. So some of the things I was thinking of, if you don't know what slow travel is a way to basically be in the moment when you are in Italy. So you're not rushing, you're not planning every single minute of every day. You are embracing the culture, the people, the experiences without making you insane and stressed and exhausted. I shared this story with Lexi yesterday. When I was living in Florence for so many years, I always could pinpoint where the Americans were. They were with usually fanny packs. I know those are back in. With baseball caps, with an exhausted look on their face, and sometimes arguing with their wife. Or arguing with the waiter that they don't have something that doesn't exist in Italy, like Caesar salad or Alfredo dressing. And I noticed this was a trend for the 4.5 years I was permanently living there. I consistently saw how exhausted, frustrated, irritable Americans, more likely than not, were about being in Florence. Now, given most of these people are older adults, no offense, it's not about just being older, but they were coming from a cruise ship. So what does that mean? They probably docked at in Livorno, which is about an hour drive away, in a bus, which is probably longer because it's a bus. And they arrive probably butt crack of dawn, like probably at 7 or 8 in the morning in the center of Florence. So they're leaving the boat at like 6 maybe. So obviously you're going to be exhausted because you will have a full day. You have a tour guide with a flower or a feather or something that you're following around Florence to see all the beautiful sights. You sit down to lunch, you finish that really quick, then you're onwards to another tour or church or something. And it's planned for you, so you don't really have you know, you have to keep up with the group. And I saw this on my last trip, another story I'll share. I was inside this gorgeous shop in Montepulciano, and I was already deciding I was going to buy these shoes, which I love. And I was asking the shop assistant, cashier, actually, how do I say, attendant, shop attendant. That's not the word. Sales girl. It's not really important. She was helping this American, him and his wife, because he wanted to buy this leather jacket. So he was at the cash register, and I had just asked her a simple question. I'm like, is there another size? Like, is it over there? I'll go pick it up. She stopped what she was doing because she was just a dream. She was so sweet and so kind. And she went around from the cashier, from the behind the desk, and was looking for shoes for me. And then I could hear the frustration in this couple's like voice. They're like, "Oh my God, we have to go. Oh my God, there goes our tour, blah, 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 blah." And they just like basically just said, "F you, we're done." I mean, he didn't say that, but he was just like, "We gotta go. I can't." And she's like, wait, just 1 second. I just was gonna get this. And I'm like, I told her, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, and she just gave me this look like, why? Like, why? Like, of course, she lost a sale, but I made it up for it because I spent over $400 there. So I was like, I'll buy that, and that because I felt horrible. But anyway, the point is like, when you are in a group that is, and I've talked about this on and on and on about on this podcast, but when you're with a group, a large group, and you have to keep up with them, there is no way for you to relax. There's no way for you to connect with that. I'm gonna say shop girl. Um, the sales attendant, shop girl. There's no way for you to even try out your Italian when you're at at a cafe or a bar. Like, you don't have time. You're just like, give me that. I'm gonna buy that. Okay, I'm going. Okay, yeah, I'll have a gelato. I'll have that. Blah blah blah. And it's not. There's no connection, right? So my tip for you is, if you're in Florence, in Tuscany, in a villa, in a B&B, wherever you are, get up with ease. Make sure that your morning is not jam packed with tour, church, or, walking tour, church. Make sure you decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to get up. I'm going to have my coffee. I'm going to have a beautiful and delicious brioche with jelly or crema inside. And I'm just going to look around the room and I'm just going to enjoy where I'm at. My next tip is, if you're in Florence, take a walk along the river. There's so many beautiful photo ops. Take your camera with you. Obviously, you're going to have your phone. Go across the Ponte Vecchio early in the morning when there's nobody. The silence, the breeze that comes down from the hills. Like, it's amazing. Like, unfortunately, when I was living there, I was never close enough to the center where I could wake up that early and take a walk on an empty Ponte Vecchio. I did that at night when I was younger, coming home late from the bars. Anyway, side note. But in the morning, it's a different light. It's a different feeling. It's a different energy. Like, it's something that, if you've never experienced it, like, it's something to experience. And if you're staying in the center of Florence, I encourage you to get up, take your coffee, take your time with yourself or with your spouse, with your significant other, and take a walk. My next tip is to people watch. People watching, I love doing that in the airport. But in Piazza Signoria, Piazza Repubblica, Piazza del Duomo, like you could sit for hours just looking at people. And if you are a photographer, this is a great way to get really cool candid shots of people, um, and really just like absorb, like, what is it like to be living in the center of Florence? Um, Obviously, times have changed. I'm not going to go into that. Um, the next tip, have no expectations from yourself, from your spouse, from the hotel staff, from the person that is pouring your coffee. Like, just no expectations. Just be. Try not to compare what happens in the States or where you're from to what's happening in the moment. Like how they're pouring your coffee or how they served you or why does this pasta sauce taste different than the one my grandma made? Just enjoy. Try not to compare or judge other people, other things, other experiences. Because when you sit in that moment of like uncertainty, the unknown, maybe a little discomfort, maybe you're a little vulnerable, like you've never had this pasta before and you're like, why did I order it? I don't know what's in it. Well, give it a try. Like, give yourself grace, give yourself compassion. Like, hey, I am in a foreign country. I might not speak the language, but I'm going to taste this pasta and I am going to either like it or not like it. And that's okay. The matter of the fact is that you're there and you're giving it a chance. Honor the hours of shopping, like the shops, and the dining hours. So I've talked about this a lot. Those of you that are new to my podcast, you might find some episodes in the past. But lunchtime and dinner time are a little different than in the States. So don't plan to have dinner at 5 p.m. There will not be a restaurant open. You could have a happy hour. There might be a bar that has happy hour, or an aperitivo, which they call aperitivo, or apericena. If you see that written, apericena is just like a bigger, like happy hour. So there's like bigger, like buffet style dishes you could choose from. And what's beautiful about aperitivo is you buy a drink and you can eat as much as you want. So it's really, there used to be, I don't know if there's still some, like a lot of those anymore in Florence, but we used to go to aperitivo all the time because they're cheap. Like you buy a glass of wine for €10, maybe €5, and you can eat as much as you want. So yeah, and honor the shops hours. So the hours of shops. So shops usually close in Florence probably around noonish sometimes, maybe even 1. And they don't reopen until about 4 or 5. Because they do just have a little, siesta. They go to sleep. They go have lunch at home with their family, friends, whatever. Yeah. So here's some advice on planning a relaxing itinerary. Okay? A relaxing itinerary consists of a loosely guided itinerary, meaning you might say, hey, I'm going to go for a walk by the river. I'm going to go to a restaurant at this time, and then I'm going to take a nap. I don't know. Maybe you'll do that. Maybe you have a visit with, maybe we do have a tour in the afternoon. But make it like easy to follow where you're not like trying to rush to the next thing. Find out where the locals go to eat and drink. And this can be found on a TripAdvisor website. It could be shared with you by the owner of the B&B. It could be just something you find online. Try to hit some of those places because that's really where you find a good connection with locals or with just the culture itself. The next thing I would suggest doing is perhaps taking the tramvia, which you can take from the stazione, the train station, to neighborhoods like Statuto, where I lived, Libertà, Piazza Libertà. It's a very bustling, it's actually a very busy area right now. They have a lot of traffic. And Licure, which is where and actually, Licure e Campo di Marte. Campo di Marte is where the stadium is, the soccer stadium. And Licure is actually where one of my my husband's aunts and uncle, they live in that neighborhood. And this is where locals live, residents live. There's not as many like restaurants and stuff. You see a lot more residential, but you also see a lot of gelateria. You see like cafes. There's a lot to see. And even if you're just like walking around, you don't even have to go and either. You don't have to have like an end point to eat or to drink. Maybe you just go and you walk through Statuto and you see like there's a Museo Stibert, which is a museum actually near my old house, my old apartment, which has a really beautiful garden. You have to pay to enter. It's not really one of those museums that's opened all the time, but like it's a really beautiful garden. It's amazing, actually. So there's a lot of really hidden gems. There's Giardino di Orticultura, which is where I would get all my flowers every year. There's this huge flower market, like in the spring and the fall. Like there's a beautiful greenhouse. There's a park in there. It's gorgeous. You can see the Duomo from the top. There's really a lot of hidden gems that if you venture out of the big touristy city center, you can find a lot of really cool things. Yeah, so those are my tips. I just wanted to point them out, how to embrace slow travel in Florence, or anywhere in Tuscany, wherever you are, wherever you're staying. There's always some place some hidden gems to find around the corner where nobody really talks about. You don't find them in books. So embrace that, step out of the comfort zone, no comparison, no judgment, and you will have an amazing, amazing trip to remember. Allora, buongiorno, buonasera, buonanotte, wherever you are, and I'll talk to you soon. A presto. Ciao, ciao, ciao. And before I forget, I have a limited time offer. Our 5-year birthday special is going on right now. You get $1,000 off our September 2025 retreat. So that's the Truly Tuscany and Truly Florence. So if you choose to go to both, because they're back to back, you can get $2,000 off. So feel free to give me a shout out. Email me at my new email address, katie@trulyitaly.tours. And I hope to get you on these trips next year. A presto. Ciao, ciao, ciao. I am beyond grateful for you listening to my podcast right now. I am so excited to share my journey of living abroad and all my stories of Florence and Italy and all the places in between that I've visited. If this has reached you in any way and you would like to continue, please subscribe now. Also, go check out my website, trulyitaly.tours, for all my travel experiences. Ci si vede. Ciao.